Getting the aid in, getting the wounded out. Inside the missions to feed people and save lives. I'm Adrienne Arsenault. Come with us for the rare rides in the skies over Gaza. They are startling to watch, fast, intense, and when airdrops come one after the other for days, you can catch yourself thinking for a moment, maybe this does make a difference in Gaza. Careful with that. Come back down to earth. To the tarmac of the King Abdullah II Air Base in Jordan. And check this out for perspective. Jordanian C-130s loaded for this day's drop, but just 16 pallets for each plane, and all of it arrived on a single flatbed truck. Along with global partners, Jordan's helped deliver more than 435,000 kilos of aid so far. With Israeli restrictions on what gets in by road, chaos and violence on the ground, these airdrops matter, but they're pricey, inefficient, and precarious. So there are 2 Jordanian planes making the airdrop on this day. They have a very limited window in which they can drop all this aid. They must coordinate the timing precisely with the Israelis. Consider the risks on the ground. There's still rockets coming out of Gaza. There's still airstrikes into Gaza. So they know they have a very short window to do a lot. No doubt you have questions. What's in the boxes? Where's the aid from? No one here is permitted to talk. No time for a briefing, and certainly no time to linger. It's the start of the 46th Jordanian airdrop, 63rd, including the coalition countries. Donations are global, Canada offering hundreds of parachutes, and that's key because Jordan is quickly going through its own. Weather, wind, the state of the sea, the sense of the violence on the ground, how many planes are in the formation, they factor it all in when deciding where to drop. 45 minutes from takeoff in Amman, and they're approaching the coast of the Mediterranean, still very high. This is where they head out to sea, only to turn around and then get down to 3,000 feet.
The UN has talked of wanting a specified landing zone in the north, like a stadium in which to drop this aid. It doesn't have that yet. So once these pallets leave the plane, they don't have much control over what happens on the ground. There's no GPS on the parachutes. And that's where a huge worry is here. What happens when this hits the ground?
Worrying what you can see from the air. While looking at the coast, we spotted smoke rising from the ground. It's not a lot, and it's tough to see from this angle. We've circled it. But we later learned what we saw might have been the aftermath of this moment, an airstrike in central Gaza not long before. No wonder these are concerned and serious faces. In the short weeks of these drops, the teams developed a grid pattern for Gaza, and they try to ensure each plane can drop in a certain grid to spread the aid around and safely. Many crews would prefer being as low as 500 feet for precision. You can't do that in an active war zone.
Okay, they are minutes away from dropping the aid now. We are just approaching Gaza. The timing of this is incredibly precise.
Even at this height, it's clearly shattered. Ruined neighborhoods in the north, crushed buildings, even those standing largely look uninhabitable. Hundreds of thousands fled the north when the war started. Scared now to be in the south, many returned, are cut off from help. That's why they're the ones who need the airdrops the most. And here they go. Time to don the safety gear, to check the parachutes again and load one last crucial time. The bay doors open. Watch carefully. This happens fast. The crew cut the tethers, then shove. 16 pallets gone. But look, right there, one parachute seemingly entangles in another. Soon they're both disengaged, 2 loads appearing to plummet. It's too fast for anyone up here to see if the chutes eventually reopen, but the potential for mishaps terrifies. Within the last few weeks, several children were reportedly killed by these falling aid parcels when their chutes failed. So anxiety is real. Working with local videographers in Gaza, we alert them to the time of the airdrops we're following so they can offer a sense of what is and has been happening on the ground. With some 6 drops this day, they capture what they can, and look at what they see near the south. You can feel the panic. And in the north, telltale chaos. Each drop from each plane unpredictable and devastating if you're the one who's hungry and in need. Saad Abu Rafi says he was beaten trying to get almost anything he could pick up. This is the can of milk for my son. Look how many people crushed it. This is what I got. 10 people attacked me. Sometimes gangs or armed groups grab, then sell the aid, leaving the desperate even more so. There's a 1% chance we'll get something, Ramez Abu Amira says. They dropped 10 parachutes. What are 10 parachutes for 1 million people? Fatima Abu Kumsan told the local videographer it hurts to see children watching this. Curse the countries that treat us like dogs running after our food, she says. They know this isn't a solution, so do aid workers. 25 human rights organizations have signed a letter making that point. UNICEF says 1 in 3 kids under the age of 2 in Gaza is acutely malnourished. More supplies delivered urgently by truck are all that can stave off famine, they fear. Until then, this is what help looks like. The C-130 crew, after dropping this day, climb and speed up as soon as they can. They have to get out safely and make room for other planes coming in. And as soon as they're back in Jordan, back on the tarmac, it's back to planning for the next one. Desperate moves in a deeply desperate moment.
Jason, tell me when your team is ready here. We are calling the patient. خلاص. Bismillah.
On a tarmac in Egypt near Gaza, the ride out of the war zone has arrived. The worst they've endured starts to get better right here. Even if it all still hurts.
Yeah, you answer.
24 of the severely wounded and their families, so many of them kids, on their way to hospital in Qatar for advanced care. And the legs of 11-year-old Yahman Mahmoud Sharif with a fractured skull really needed. Everyone transferred right into the belly of a C-17, into what's effectively a flying emergency room for the 3-hour trip to Doha. It's a little hard to process what they've all been through. Imagine to survive their injuries, to then be able to get out of Gaza, to then get on a list, to get on a flight like this one. There is relief in all of that, but also a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear. What happens after they leave hospital? What will life be like? And crucially, will they ever be going back to Gaza? They've left so many behind. Yahman's mom, Sabrine, says her husband was stopped at the border with Egypt.
Now she's alone with them, and his husband, he cannot enter here to the Egypt. They don't allow the man to cross the border. Only they want women only.
She could use some help because he's in trouble. The doctors say cranial bleeding is making him erratic, anxious. Not much, it seems, can console him.
And there is blood is inside. And now, you know, he don't know what he's doing.
So he has a skull fracture?
He was under
the rubble?
Yes.
Yahman was at home when an airstrike hit, collapsing the building on him. So agitated, they give him some light sedation, fairly sure he'll have to head into surgery as soon as they land. Lots of concerned faces here, and maybe not just because of what's happened, but this whole experience. Imagine never having left Gaza, never having been on a plane before, and then being here. Dr. Jalal Al-Asai heads this operation. He recognizes the shaking and the noise here can sometimes be rough.
But for them, it's like, remind them about the situation there in Gaza because it's noisy and it causes a lot of noise. We had cases who, after they hear the takeoff sound of this one, collapsed because they remember the attacks during when they were in Gaza. So I believe they really remember what happened there when they hear the voice because it's very noisy.
No wonder some were terrified. And a few, like this woman who'd been able to sit at the beginning, ended up dizzy and unconscious. Hard to know what she endured before getting on this flight. While they work on her, her grandchild is in the arms of the Qatari Red Crescent. Part of caring is lightening the mood. It's Ramadan. We take off just as it's time to break the fast, so there's food and treats and a lot more smiles. One of the most remarkable smiles belongs to the very sunny 9-year-old Mahmoud Mohammed.
Mahmoud, what do you want to do when you grow up?
Did you catch what he said there? Sulhafi, he said. Journalist. He wants to be a journalist.
Yeah. He wants to be like you and he wants to be a football player also.
Oh.
Yes.
Are you good at football?
هل انت شاطر في الكورة؟
كتير.
Yes.
كنت ألعبها.
Yes. Very good. Excellent. Perfect.
Who's your favorite player?
من لاعبك المفضل؟
محمد صلاح.
محمد صلاح.
Mahmoud's mamnu are quick to offer pictures of better days.
This is his favorite food. مقلوبة. Yes, called this one مقلوبة. Yeah.
Yum.
All that before the terrible December day when he was hit in an airstrike. Mahmoud lost both his arms.
His life become too much hard now.
In Doha, he'll get 2 prosthetics. He knows the plan and he's excited.
What will he do when he has his arms?
ويوم التركب هالعيادة إن شاء الله. كيف تحس نفسك بتكون جميل وحلو يعني؟
كتير.
Yes.
بس ألعب كورة وأمسك كورة.
Yes, he can call the ball, he can play football, everything. Wow, mashallah, Mahmoud.
Perfect.
If this team looks like they have it all in hand, it's because this is the 19th medical evacuation flight sponsored by Qatar. The Emir has vowed to care for 1,500 wounded Palestinians. Accommodation built for the World Cup is being offered to them. The exhaustion on this plane is worn on all these faces and not just those of the patients. This war takes a toll on everyone, medical staff included.
The world these people have just come from is one of chaos and mayhem and violence, and they may not realize it, but once they arrive in Doha, each person here has been assigned a medical, social, and psychological team to help them get through what's ahead.
As they near the end of the flight, the relief of the team is real. Everyone on board is stable. With the hugs come sprigs of basil, something fresh and fragrant. More toys, a bit more last-minute care, and a welcome to Qatar. It's kind, but imagine just how bewildering all of this must be.